I call the order Myrtle Creek Urban Renewal Agency regular meeting. For February 17th, 2026. Roll call, please.
Director Rick Held.
Here.
Director Diana Larson.
Here.
Director Kathy Rad.
Here.
Director Jamie McElroy.
Here.
Director Robert Cheney.
Here.
And Director Luke Dillon.
Here. All right, everybody stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think this is the election of chair and vice chair. We were doing this, right? Okay. All right. Consent agenda. Approval of minutes of regular urban renewal agency meeting for February 3rd, 2025. Wait, 2026.
Should be 2026.
And January 2026 urban renewal agency financial statement.
I make a motion that we approve consent agenda 4.1 and 4.2 with the correction of the year 4.1.
Second,
I'll second.
any discussion on those? All right, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Carries. Regular agenda 5.1, building improvement grant application of fall. You wanna come and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Trevor Sharon. The address of the vault is 105 North Main, Myrtle Creek, Oregon, 97457.
I should have a presentation.
Not for this one,
Yeah,
no.
that's nice.
I did want to kind of give you like a whole,
You can be there for a question, yeah.
yeah, if you guys have any questions in regard to the quotes or in regard to the design, we want to paint the entire building black with a green trim that would give it more of a look of an arcade instead of a bank. And we think that it'll basically match the interior, but on the exterior. The green that would be the trim would actually be a glow in the dark green that would fluoresce at night, bringing it up throughout the day. I also plan on installing black lights within the interior of the windows to help with like a purple and greenish hue emanating out of the arcade itself. This is kind of what I wanted to touch on. This is not what it is going to look like exactly. This is what AI came up with. That looks pretty horrible. We are gonna have a green trim along the top, and then the windows that have that trim on them would have that neon green, as well as neon green at the bottom of each one as well. The eventual look of it, once we've seen some other buildings and some comparable examples, this is just what we wanted to superimpose on our building itself, so that you would kind of get an example of just the color scheme, not necessarily this exact green or that exact black, but that it would look kind of like that, but far better. We have two different quotes. One is for 15 and one is for, I think, 1375. The cheaper quote is actually the one that if we had a say in the matter, we would prefer to go with, because there's a specific type of paint and coating that they would need to mix to create that neon color without it fading eventually over time. And the quote from the company Rescom that came back lower than the company, gosh, what was it? Next Level Painting. Rescom actually mixes that sealant in with the paint, and it would be something we wouldn't have to recoat year after year. If we did the other company, the Next Level Painting, they would do the same thing, except they would seal it, and it would need to be resealed every 6 months. So if we had to choose any particular thing, if approved, it would be the cheaper of the two quotes. But this is to, make the building itself look more appropriate for the business. Create a blank canvas for other things we plan to do to the building, which is to include more murals throughout the entire exterior. And black, based on the experience of what we have on the interior, seems to go really, really well with murals, which is what I'll get to in just a minute as well. We have,
My whole thing is it does not meet the guidelines of the grant. It's it's so far off that it's not even close to meeting the guidelines.
I'd just like to comment, I mean, when, I'm glad you said it was AI, because I couldn't believe it when I saw it, and I've worked with kids for many years. I taught school, and so I understand somewhat how kids, think, and I definitely like the whole idea of the business being kid friendly. That's definitely something that I think Myrtle Creek needs for their children, but the problem that I saw immediately was we were discussing the ordinance, and since the city is allowing the funds to be available, there are guidelines about, well, typically I think businesses, especially in difficult times, I would think a business such as yours, the lifespan might be 6 to 8 years. And then if you left, I'm not saying you would, it might be hugely successful. But if you left, then we'd have a building right downtown, first thing you see almost, that is so off from the other buildings. Now, my thoughts in trying to motivate the city council to make it easier, and I think Chrissy really came up with the idea of, ways that we could help the business community if they needed to paint. I was looking at the buildings directly across the street, which are the big white buildings, and whether, somehow that they could be painted just to make it look nicer. And I think if you wanted some colors, I like the brown, but the brown that's there now is very nice. I think it looks nice. Maybe to make it cheaper, you could ask for like a trim that would kind of blend in with that a little bit. That might be a little more jazzy, but it wouldn't be the whole building, and kind of start small, so that if something did happen and you weren't able to continue, it would be an easy fix for the city. So those are my concerns.
okay, I do want to point out, just a few things. We are owners of the building, and, so therefore we plan, I know plans change, and we do plan to be here in Myrtle Creek as part of this community for the rest of our lives. Now, obviously, you can't go off of a promise or a hope, because obviously when it comes down to it, if that building becomes vacant, then if it's not an arcade, it's an eyesore. However, if you look at all the buildings downtown, I don't believe that there is a theme. I don't believe that there is a color scheme. The theme to me seems to be vacant. In other words, I think that anything different would be good. I think, for example, the Elks Lodge, the Elks building was painted to be the theme of their organization, which is the purple and gold, which doesn't match any of the downtown buildings at all whatsoever. So I just want to make the council aware of that, and that was my train of thought going into this, was that if there is no exact theme of the town, well, then you kind of have to create it, set it according to the businesses, because wouldn't it be more appropriate for the businesses to succeed based on their outside appearance, based on the inside appearance, based on what the business needs to have it match the interior. In other words, not the design, but I won't be able to market my business as an arcade if it looks on the exterior like a bank building. There's still a lot of people that don't know that we're here. There's a lot of people that drive through Myrtle Creek and just pass right by. And obviously, there's a lot of things that we can do to increase the visuals and the awareness of it. My thought process, though, when we undertook the process of filling out the grant application and applying and getting the quotes, was that as long as it fits your business agenda, that it would be something worth bringing to
Did
city
you read the
council.
grant?
I did.
The grant specifically says, and we've discussed it both in our December 12th meeting, if you want to listen to that, and in the June 17th meeting. And this type thing is not something that this grant is built for. I do agree with you. Yes, the Elks Lodge is bright. We didn't pay for the Elks Lodge.
So, may I just make one more comment? If all of the buildings that are gonna be requesting approval to be painted need to fit a specific color scheme or need to fit all the other buildings, which is what? What is that color scheme? What is the,
Their guidelines, they're neutral colors,
okay,
they're historic colors. That's a historic building, and you go back, that building was built 1940. And it's been one of those neutral colors since 1947. That's the purpose of this grant, is to spruce stuff up, get new paint on it. But we're not, this grant's not to change something from a tan to a lime green and black. I mean, that's not what this grant is for.
Okay.
Yes, you're right. We can't tell you, you can't paint that building that color in our city, in the city of Myrtle Creek, but we can say if you applied for this grant, it's specific, it's wrote specifically on the grant.
I was under the impression that it did say, if you could go to the grant section, that there was a section on there that points out that it would be okay specifically.
The very last,
We should be from each other and the character of the structure when possible research everything clean color and finish of the building. I see. I was under the impression it was definitely okay, if it was something, in line with the business.
And then if you also go up to eligible improvements. I think it's two up,
Structural improvements, exterior.
planning approvals and historic reviews. So we're looking at stuff that these are historic masonry buildings that the grant is to keep them the same, not to have something brightly colored.
So while we understand you wanting to market your business, these aren't colors that are approved by the grant at this time.
So the only color scheme we could do is what's already on there.
Or close to it,
Neutral
like I said,
colors.
neutral colors, earth tone colors, something that complements the other buildings in the area. And we're in historic Main Street,
It
and
wouldn't-
that's,
it wouldn't do what you're trying to do, which is make it stand out and, people can't miss it.
yeah, we're trying to avoid that.
Well, for future reference, when it comes to business owners that are also building owners, and it pertains to how they want to design and amplify the visuals of their business on the outside, they should know ahead of time that this is not what that's for. And that,
It's in the grant, it says in the grant, and like I say, also, if you wanna go back and listen to the meetings, December 12th meeting, we specifically discuss the painting situations, and also in June 17th, and then it's in the grant. The old grant specifically just gave you colors, and a lot of cities will just give you a certain colors you can pick from, and they have to stay within those colors. And unfortunately, what you're asking the city to pay for is against the grant.
And so wouldn't have paid for the elks to be painted what colors it is.
I think too, you need to understand that, the community, if we had something that dramatic right downtown,
we do.
we would hear about it, definitely. Because it has, it has.
We have another eye store, and then.
Yeah, we do hear about it.
Well, that's the whole thing, is that
We think about it.
when I think of like downtown. Obviously, we want to focus on restoration and preservation and rebuilding and reopening, okay? But if each business owner, a young entrepreneur or another business organization comes in, or excuse me, a young entrepreneur, business owner wants to come in and start a business in Myrtle Creek. If they are limited to what they can do with those business structures, it's going to be very hard for them to see their final vision. And in other words, you're gonna have, this is just my personal opinion. My takeaway from it is that there will be not as much, but there will be more vacancies. If people can't call out their businesses and their, whether it be paint design, signage, interior, exterior lighting, however it may be, it's hard to say that you can restore downtown to exactly what it was before. That's the goal. But when you talk about individual businesses, well, the Elks went off on their own and they painted that building purple gold. So there's that. They did, yes. And so that's what I will do with my building. So in other words, one way or another, there will be different eyesores all over town because there's going to be different businesses, different themes that some business owners are going to just want to go ahead and pay for instead. And so that's where I am with this process, and I'll just have to do that myself.
I think
it's a good idea to paint it, but it just doesn't qualify for the city's grant money to do it.
Yeah, I understand.
And if you're even saying, so it's gonna be an eyesore, why do people want an eyesore?
I'm quoting. I said if it's an eyesore, then that's what you're classifying it as, so I'm using it.
You're the one that's mentioned that.
There's
why
that
it's not
street
made.
in San Francisco and you go through and there's all those old buildings and they're all painted different colors and it looks really pretty. They're
Well, that's
old
my point,
buildings.
is that the variety of the different businesses could be the beauty of this town.
Yeah, you could depart by, oh, that's that town that has all the pretty buildings or.
I think if your building was further back, your location is really great. You have two sides. You can do lighting, signage or whatever, consult someone that can help you with trying to, make it attractive to the community without, having it be so dramatic, that it's like shocking. So I think you can pick some colors that might work a little better if you, or talk to a painter.
Window freeze your windows.
If I were to say, okay, let's do it the exact colors it is now, would this be something more likely to be approved?
I would say that I don't know why not, because it's fine. It's historic the way it is.
You could do, I think with grays, tans,
Yeah, boring neutral.
light greens.
Well, so the reason why I'm thinking of, okay, if we go to, grays, tans, things like that, we're gonna paint the entire building all over again anyways. It's gonna have murals wrapped around the entire thing. So I was just thinking of black as being the thing that's a perfect backdrop to that neon color. So would I need to make an amendment to the application? Would I need to, I guess obviously if we're gonna have to go through a whole different color scheme.
Did you put the color on your?
I did, yes, black and green.
Yeah, I would make an amendment if you're gonna change. Yeah.
So next best process is just reapply next month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we need to, as a body, even though we listed it in this and stuff, we need to make sure that it is out there and adopt a color scheme for the town. If that's what we want, we need to have it in place.
Yes.
So we're not getting.
There's no
I was
question.
There's a
going
very confusing
We're not
to the person
having
applying
business
for
owners
the
come
grant.
forward and, it's exasperating for them to fill out this application, then come forward to us, and then we turn around after we've been saying that we're gonna help out the business owners, and then because they don't meet the criteria, we slap them in the face.
Well,
This kind of feels like-
I brought this up earlier today, that if that's something we wanna go, is that something we actually wanna put into our ordinances?
The colors
The
that they
color
can use.
scheme that's allowed.
Well, I think we almost have to.
Just
I think so
the
too.
colors that they can use
I
to
didn't-
qualify for the grant money, but they can use whatever colors they want.
No, this is beyond that. This is.
In the urban
I'm talking
renewal
about-
district,
I'm talking about.
like
this
in
would
an
be a council.
HOA,
Oh, really? To have the
That
colors.
color-
Have a color scheme within the
Yeah,
urban
this
renewal
is a-
district.
I'm talking about actually within council, having a discussion about ordinance change. Or ordinance added to ordinance for,
To have a color scheme for the city,
yeah, that's maybe.
no matter whether
like
you
this-
own it or not.
That's for the, probably for Main Street.
May
But
I-
you have limited the urban renewal
Or,
district.
or renewal, but it would probably have, that would have to be a thing at council, I imagine.
May I just touch on that real quick? So in quite a bit of other cities, larger cities up north and south, they already have a color scheme in place. They have very strict guidelines. There's not much you can do other than those exact colors for every building in those towns. And what that does is increases the likelihood of vacancies. I can tell you right now, that makes it very difficult for a business owner, unless they want to be part of that particular color scheme, that particular layout and that location within wherever those parameters are set. Otherwise, it becomes extremely difficult for anyone to realize their vision.
I think you're making a good point in that there needs to be just a slight, variability, there or something we could agree on. We have to do that language somehow in the ordinance where you have a certain palette, but then there's a little, disclaimer kind of thing where
It's just up
maybe
to,
if someone came and they're very close to the palette, that we could discuss that.
maybe if it's just left up for city review, just city council review, just like this. But if you put limitations on it, from what I've heard from business owners that are in those areas, it is a very difficult process to enforce and to adhere to. And it immediately limits a lot of the desire for people to put their businesses on those buildings if you have to be a portion of this color scheme, and it does create a lot of complications. That's what I know about it. That's all.
Yeah, we have to consider that, yeah, thank you.
Well, my only suggestion would be if you're gonna do that, you need to have a color palette out there that's acceptable colors that you want to use.
Yeah, I don't think we would want to choose that or something, we would have a final say, but I think, yeah, getting public involved. So
Well, I know if you're a historical district, like in Oakland, when I lived in Oakland, you had to get approval from the city to paint your house because they have a palette of colors that you have to go through. You can't just go out and paint
A
it.
lot of downtowns we have found are that way.
Yeah.
That's why Oakland is the way it is now, is because you're not having a lot of people that want to move into a small
Well,
town with a lot of
clear,
strict
so they don't
guidelines.
get painted. But I'm talking about houses that are on the main street, that the old Victorian houses.
If I were
and stuff.
told that I have to paint my house that I own in a certain way, I would not. move there.
If
Well,
you're
you
in a
know,
historical
there-
district.
You may not, but 20 others are gonna move in the house because they wanna be in a historical area.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that would probably be a consensus with a lot of people on it, but I'd be wrong.
It seems to be something they mention on, real estate, whether it has an HOA or not, because there's some people that don't want to live in places with an HOA.
Right.
Because it does, it's
Yeah, it's true.
a point, no. You have to conform to, everybody looks like the same thing. It's just to each their own.
so understanding is you're gonna reapply with a different,
I will go back to the drawing board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Probably stay there because you're next again. You're the only things on the agenda tonight.
Yeah, okay.
Carol, oh, no,
Okay,
Changing hats.
so.
Give us your name. and-
Who's ready to change the future of Myrtle Creek? My name is Trevor Sharon. I'm here representing the Myrtle Creek Mural Committee as Vice President, where nature is your neighbor. And
Sorry, and I'm Jessica Sharon, also just chiming in.
she's on the
I am on the board of the Bureau Committee.
Okay, So, originally, we had intended on presenting this in order to city council for approval of mill site as a location to be chosen for our festival that we were hoping to put on June 27th. That date, however, is already reserved by the Applegate Family Reunion for Millside Park. And so we still do want to do a mural festival on that date, almost to kind of align with the Applegate Family Reunion. But instead of it being at Millside Park, it would be in the parking lot next to the Vault and Pacific Ink. So a much lower scale, downscale thing. So I wanted to mention that to you guys first, so that you know that my main purpose here of presenting this to the Urban Renewal Committee is to request funds and to request permissions. So moving on to the introduction, if you want to go ahead. The theme of the mural committee matches the city's slogan, where nature is your neighbor. We'll be incorporating in nature annual Myrtle Creek events, business themes, and Myrtle Creek history into the murals. So when we go into the topic of preservation, restoration, the town itself has a lot of big blank open spaces. And the idea of this is to give it more charm, more color, and to make murals that pull people from different locations. In other words, I want to preface this with this topic. There is a mural that just recently got done in the downtown district of Roseburg. And it's beautiful, it's wonderful, looks amazing. Would I drive to Roseburg specifically for that? Absolutely not. So these murals, the idea behind this is to create a destination and a location where people can come to that they drive from all over to see them. And so as we go through this, I kind of want you to keep that in mind. Currently, we have 9 potential locations, including 5 that have already been approved by building owners. Some of the murals and other ideas we have for the future will be community participation in conjunction with the small mural festival I already mentioned, which we do have approval for the space to use as well. If you want to go to the next one. So this is the timeline. Now we have a very detailed timeline and then a simplified version that I'll discuss at the end. February 17th, City Council meeting. This is what we're here for today. We want to request permission to for approval of our timeline for the creation of a Facebook page to be used to call in artists for fundraising, for advertising, and to call in the youth from community engagement to participate in creating the murals themselves. And of course, obviously the urban renewal funds would come into that. That's the whole reason we're here today. Would be used for prepping the buildings, power washing the surfaces, paying for the materials, the paint, supplies, rental equipment like scaffoldings to get up higher to the larger murals, and of course paying muralists. And if we are able to create that, we would like the permission to open the call to artists now. We have not yet done that because of course we wanted to present this to you guys first. If you want to go to the next thing. So that's what today is all about. From the 18th to May 4th, this is where preparation would begin as soon as now. Where we're gathering artists, collecting fundraising, advertising, the committee and the festival, getting mock-ups done, which are going to be due by the 30th of April. And those mock-ups are coming from individual artists that will be choosing and getting drafts and mock-ups done for the murals that we've kind of chosen and the ideas that we have in mind to be submitted by April 30th so that we can submit them for approval to all of you for final say and a yes or a no. We'll be preparing the buildings, we'll be creating sponsorship materials for the festival, gathering vendors, volunteers and artists. Our plan is to, for this small festival, it's only going to take up the location of the parking lot at the Vault. We're hoping to have maybe a couple food trucks and an interactive mural where the youth, specifically we're partnering with Jen from the Youth Art League to gather a bunch of kids that are interested in art to help paint the first layers of portions of this mural, kind of like block painting or paint by number sort of thing. But I'll get into that a little bit more later if you want to go to the next one. So once we gather all of the mock-ups for these murals, we want to be able to meet as a committee the day of the meeting that would take place a little bit later. So May 5th, mural committee meetings at 2:30. We vote on the official mock-ups and decide on the official artists. That same day, we have the meeting here at 5:30, and we would present them and vote for approval on them. And if they are approved, whichever ones are, then murals can begin. The date of the 27th of June is the day of the festival, but that's not when they would need to be complete. This would be an ongoing thing. This would be something that we do year after year, adding new murals to Myrtle Creek every single year, up to hopefully 6 to 8 per year. Every year, we would like to have the festival. This year, it can't be in Millside Park, but we would like to have it in Millside Park every year, gathering vendors and artists, possibly doing sidewalk chalk, art competitions, providing lots of youth involvement into the community to get them involved.
So just okay, that's a question.
Yeah.
So you said every year, so you're talking about redoing the murals?
We're talking about adding new murals.
We don't have like 6 to 8 every year for ever like that, like how many?
Oh, I understand. No, we're not requesting for the urban renewal to pay for everything.
No, I'm talking about like, do you think there's that many flat spaces?
Yes,
To be able to.
there's quite a bit more than you would think.
Okay.
6 to 8 a year.
Maybe not necessarily 6 to 8 a year, but we can definitely start with that and then set the tone of the style of those and what they do for the vibrance of the town, what they'll do for tourism, and what they'll set forth as an example to the rest of the artists that would want to participate. The goal is to have artists so enthused about this that they cut their price down in half just because they want their mural here in Myrtle Creek. Now, there are quite a bit of spaces within all of Myrtle Creek, going all the way down towards the Tri-City area. When searching for locations, it was almost hard to decide like what to start with. There are so many, including interior locations too. But if you think about the backside of the buildings that are facing Millside Park, there is quite an area of opportunity. The new visitors center, and I'll just get into the locations we've chosen as we move on, so you kind of see what I'm talking about. So murals themselves help to build a sense of community by bringing people together around shared experience. So it's not just about the beautification of the town and the tourism, it's about the community involvement and engagement. This is our first one we'll go over. This is the Moon Tree mural that we're proposing for the back of the Umpqua Research Center. And what this would be is a very large mural inspired by the moon tree that is planted over by the library. We already have approval from the building owner. They're extremely enthused about this. Now, I have that picture of that magazine on there to kind of show you an example of what it would look like. So we would try to get it to look like. We obviously would present that to an artist and try to get a mock-up derived from it. But picture it without the heavy metal and the pteranodon in the picture, and instead with the full-grown tree in the background. So we're not going to have the heavy metal and the pteranodon.
So are you suggesting that this building have that tree there?
I'm suggesting that that building there would be the location for this mural, looking similar to that magazine cover over the entire backside of that building. So it would be a very.
Why, since it is at Millside Park, which is a former mill, would you not want it to be more related towards the park and the history of the park at Myrtle Creek, when
There,
the moon tree isn't located there, when the moon tree is over by the library.
because that is the back of the URA Research Center, which had quite a pivotal role in a NASA space mission where they saved quite a bit of astronauts' lives. And so there is a historical context to that as well, where that's what made us first think of it, is we wanted to do the moon tree one way or another as a mural. And then we got to thinking about, well, the URA Research Center has a gigantic surface that faces mill site and would therefore invoke interest in that facility itself and curiosity as the people, the youth, whoever see it. It'll get a lot of exposure and then in turn create a lot of interest in the space program.
This is why I have been asking the council to consider what ways we can spruce up, if you will, the buildings that line mill site. And I have to agree with my partner over here that on the one side you have the mill site history. I forget the name of the building there. As you go into the park. So I would think it needs to be consistent with that mural. And I had never expected the answer to painting the white buildings to be a mural, which of course there's no reason why it couldn't be partly a mural, but to be putting up murals, I don't know, I just wouldn't wanna get into a situation where we're just putting murals up,
That's what he's
even though
presenting the idea of this new thought of like what Myrtle Creek would be like.
what's that?
Mural Creek. Instead of
Myrtle Creek.
Did I say mural? Creek?
No, so I have quite a few different.
We'd have to change the name, but I mean,
Myrtle Creek, the city of murals.
Yeah,
And people can drive through, look at the murals.
we definitely need, I think, as a council, to be able to help you select the locations carefully. And, I don't know how my council people feel about it, but
There's
6 to
already.
8 is nerve wracking to me, honestly, a year. I think we're going really way too fast to consider something like that, but,
Well, this is just the initial goal.
Yeah,
That's what we're
this is our
hoping for,
initial
that
goal, whether,
realistically, we don't know how much money the urban renewal would.
I think it's a fine idea. I'm not, discrediting the idea. As a matter of fact, down by the Rose Motel, they have a beautiful one. So, there's no reason why we can't have more. But, I think it just needs to be maybe a couple at most.
I mean, we
in the
can go
first
for
year,
less.
Depending on the location.
So we're just trying to say that, this is the goal. If we don't hit the goal, that's perfectly fine. Then we have other murals lined up and then they can go on
I think
year after
in
year.
connection with what these two said is, and you said several times, theme, we have the bunker, which
Yeah,
has
that's a big-
historic stuff on it. This whole side of this building has some beautiful murals on it. The one that they just painted there is beautiful with the river and the bridge behind it. I think that's the theme. We already have that theme. I just don't know why we wanna go from the theme that we already have, and murals are beautiful, to change the reptile and
Okay,
that kind of.
so,
I'm
I'm gonna explain as I go along.
But what are your locations? You said you have.
I'm gonna show you right now.
Okay.
So the next location, would be the back of the, Regal Raptor Thrift Store building, and this would be, facing like the, what is it, third?
Third.
Yeah, it faces the A&G Market, and this is a rather intricate one. This would be a 25-foot tall, 40-foot long Tyrannosaurus interactive mural. This would incorporate, the prehistory of Myrtle Creek in the form of fossils. And basically that the T-Rex would be standing atop a fossil bed in which all of the fossils have been found in Douglas County, so that it ties in that local prehistory. But that this is an interactive mural. In other words, we would propose that there's a way to scan a QR code once the mural is finished for the mural itself to kind of come to life on a particular app. As well as have it be translucent at night, so that in the daytime, you see that it is a full-blown Tyrannosaurus Rex, and then at night, it is translucent, so you can see the skeletal structure of it. These are just examples. None of these are actual mock-ups. These are all just examples as to kind of give you an idea of what we're trying to go for. Yeah, if you want to go to the next one. Now, this would be on the side of the Rice Brothers building, and this is another 3D interactive rodeo mural. Now, when I said initially that we wanted to make these murals something that people drive from all over for, we're not trying to necessarily stick with traditional, except for the fact that we want to embrace the history of Myrtle Creek and bring that to the forefront, to bring it out there so that it evokes the curiosity of people to know what these events and these historical things are that have existed within the community. So this one is more of like a 3D interactive mural that would maybe shift with lighting, or we could also do the QR code on that too. But if you wanted to go to the next one, we're getting to the one on the side of the vault. This is the community participation mural where we would have youth involvement. And this, if any of you are familiar with video games at all whatsoever, this is a video game level directly out of Sonic the Hedgehog called Green Hill Zone. We have tried to make it to where the mock-up would kind of match with the skyline, almost in order to seem like as you're driving down Main Street, you'd be almost looking into a window of nature. Of course, like I said, we're trying to keep everything as close to where nature is your neighbor as possible. And if we're going to be talking about doing murals all throughout the town, this is the one that I proposed for the side of the vault building itself, as we're the owners of that one. So when the festival takes place on the 27th, this is the one, and that's the parking lot where kids would be able to go in and paint by number, portions of it up to a certain level. And then we would have our artist come in and fully block it out and paint it and make it come to life, just like you see there. If you want to go to the next one. This next one is, the location is the DR Johnson, or excuse me, the hand blown glass building that's over on, going out of town just across from the Ireland Trucking parking lot. The inspiration for this is the DR Johnson Memorial Timber Truckers Life Parade. It's already been approved by the building owner to put something truck light parade themed there, because the parade itself passes right by there. I've actually sat right in that general area several years in a row and watched the parade myself. So I think that's a perfect location and a very good mural to consider putting there. Let's see if you want to go to the next thing. The other location, another one is the Elks Lodge itself. These are not, like, once again, not official mock-ups, just examples of what it could be, to basically create that whole side of that building, to give it more of a nature look to it, to include the elk on the side of the building. And this is something that the Elks Lodge has expressed interest in and would need to see a mock-up. What's that?
It has the purple and
It does, yes, it does. So it fits with their theme, it fits with, the town's theme, and that's something that, I thought everybody would be.
Make the building look a lot better.
I think
Yes,
so.
yes. And as you see with my request on a completely separate topic for my, the paint scheme on my building, you can kind of see how that could potentially have tied in with the other mural that I was, that I wanted to put on our building as well. Anyways, moving on to the 111 Northwest 2nd Avenue. There is a spot directly over that business, it's kind of an awning, that we were hoping to put the historical bridge mural up. So if you notice, it has certain sections separated that almost make it look like a bridge already. So we were thinking of having that be the location for something that artistically points out the history of that bridge. Haven't been able to get a hold of the owner yet. They live out of state. The building itself is in a trust. I'm in the process of continuing to get more information about that particular location. The next one is the electrical boxes that are in the park and on First and Main. Now this is not the boxes themselves. This is just an example, once again, of what can be brought to life. Another, possible sites. So it's not just you're looking for a big blank wall. You're looking for locations where, the electrical boxes, for instance, can be used. If you get real creative, you can talk about canvases, and there's more than meets the eye when it comes to opportunity for canvases. Next would be the visitor center. We thought that this is kind of an important mural because of, obviously we want people to know that there is a visitor center in the town. If it's just a blue and white building, then, especially when events are going on, it's really hard to know that that's where people can come and get information. So having a mural that calls out, and this once again, not a mock-up, just an example, that calls out that it's a visitor center and something nature themed. We pulled this picture because we thought that would be a really cool example of something to have on the side of the building that would call attention to it. But yeah, so this is the timeline summed up as quickly as we could. Basically the rough draft of it is the 17th is today, the present information request for permissions and funding, the preparation for murals and festivals, the voting, the presenting the mock-ups. You guys can read, you can see all that there. The last portion of this is just to kind of point a couple things out, some additional information. The murals themselves are expected to cost about $5,000 per mural, depending on the size and complexity and detail, quite a bit of things, resurfacing of the buildings, and preparation could be extensive, but we've presented our plans to the Main Street Association and asked for sponsorship, and they have already graciously donated $5,000 for a particular mural to be created. And I will say that this $5,000 is an average. Some of them could cost as much as $20,000, some of them could be $1,000, $2,000, but it just depends. This is once again the average. And, it just, like, to say that 5,000 can cover a mural is not necessarily realistic because it's an average. So we want to open a call as a committee to the Urban Renewal Grant Fund and committee to ask for approval for funds for all of these said things. We're excited to have the opportunity to improve downtown by adding color, art, and local culture to the walls of the buildings. And we'd like to thank you guys for listening to our ideas and being open to the idea of supporting our plans. We truly believe Myrtle Creek is a unique and wonderful place, and these murals will not only add beauty, but tourism and charm.
Do you have an order in which that you plan to do these?
The most important ones that we selected were the T-Rex mural, because that is going to create that. There's a lot more intricacy and layers that are involved with that. The Sonic the Hedgehog one is one that's important because that's going to be when the festival takes place, and we want community engagement in the first year. The third one.
Sorry, not this is gonna sound really good. So the first two, you want the other two on your buildings and not within the community, is that my understanding?
Not necessarily, no. I'm saying that, like, these are the ones we already have mock-ups, the designs, not mock-ups, but like general idea for and approvals for. I'm going through right now approvals and what, based on how much information I have for all of these, okay?
Which one is the Main Street Association? What's the mural that they're sponsoring? Where are they gonna put it?
They didn't specifically call out which one. They said they would like to sponsor a mural. That's.
So I'll say I like the idea of the murals. I mean, I'm not against it. I think it's fantastic. I love the idea of even making Myrtle Creek have a destination place for some really cool things to see like that. I think you're gonna have some pushback on some of the extreme ones at first. I think if you were to choose a couple of those murals and get started on some of those murals that like
Are more neutral.
like like some of the ones like that, like the rodeo one looks really cool, or the one on the Elks Club, or some of those ones that I feel like you would have a lot.
I feel like you'll get more buy-in.
Yeah, and that's
From the
like, and
community?
build that community involvement, and build that community interest, and I think then you can start moving into some of
Because
those bigger
when you
ones.
do something dramatic like the Sonic the Hedgehog, which is your building, I think it's cool, it goes with the theme of your building, but you're still gonna get the pushback of, especially using community funds, that some people aren't gonna like it, it doesn't tie into the history of town.
Well, I think anybody that has ever had kids, if you have something that they'll remember and it'll be like, well, I want to stop in Mural Creek because they've got those cool murals and it gives them time to stretch their legs and spend a little bit of money and see something pretty.
Yes, the whole idea is to invoke the imagination of youth so that they believe that there is something fun to do in Myrtle Creek.
And
And
have
so
something to look at besides,
we can leave
timber
the
and-
back of the, you know, A&G market the way it is, and it's not gonna do anything good for the town. My priority is, once again, making sure that, as vice president of the mural committee, this is not priority as far as my business owner. Priority as far as the vice president of the mural committee is to increase vibrancy, tourism, charm, and make this a destination for people to come.
anybody passing by and they've got kids and they'll always remember and say, well, we want to stop there because we see the mural.
A priority that has not been mentioned is to restore those murals that are on the side of that bunker.
Mhm.
That is a big portion of this. We're trying to create a spark, a very large imaginative spark that says Myrtle Creek isn't messing around anymore. We're calling in all artists and making this a destination, an artist's haven, so to speak, so that when this festival happens every year, people flock into Myrtle Creek, hopefully eventually as much as Summerfest.
I like your idea, go ahead, Robert, I'm sorry.
Just remember, both of us, that this is an advisory committee to the city, and the city council has final approval on everything that goes out.
Yeah, I like your idea, some of them I like really a lot, like I like, the truck, the big truck, because that is a big thing with lumber and, you know, forestry and all that. I like that bridge, the historic bridge, that's another one. I love the sunflowers, 'cause I love sunflowers anyway, but that's very pretty, and I didn't even think about the fact that you could cover electrical boxes or whatever. There are some, I still have concerns, you know, about the, you know, dovetailing the murals that we already have, you know, along those, white buildings, because there are a lot of people that traffic that area and mill site, and whatever goes on those white buildings has to be very, very carefully picked out, I think. But I do like your idea.
And I like bringing attention to the fact that they did have so much to do with the space and what goes on up there. And that people don't know that it's even there
And we want,
because it's on the
yeah,
backside.
exactly.
Yeah.
We
And
wanna, oh, sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
accentuate that by having that kind of a mural that would bring people to question, well, why? And, you know,
And then the whole idea is to create this variety of art style too, so it's not just murals of animals.
Yeah.
That's not gonna get tourism, that's not gonna bring in people, and that's not gonna be something, and it is very nice looking, and we do want to fit with that theme. But within some wiggle room in order to create this as a, to bring more community engagement into the town.
I guess what the decision was, just so you go ahead, you had your.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, I've lost my train of thought. So some of the murals are very intricate and they're big ideas, and then some of them are smaller and they can be done quicker, easier. And so, obviously, as we get artists, it, you know, depending on what kind of artists we get, depends on, their art style will then, we can use that to decide which murals are best to be chosen now based on their style. If we don't find artists that can do this type of thing, then we obviously can't do it yet, and we're still in the beginning stages. I think that the community engagement is very important, and we can piggyback like a larger mural with a smaller one. Like we could knock out 1 or 2 electrical boxes at the same time as we do this festival, you know, like we can work around things, and
Another idea.
we're just coming in with all of our ideas.
this is
all at
not-
once,
like, we didn't
and it's a
really-
lot for you guys.
Yeah, we didn't really have necessarily a priority, so to speak, and that's why they're all kind of randomly put up there, is because it's whatever we can get, like, we don't wanna put something on a wall that's gonna be, you know, not pleasant to look at. We want it to be nice, and we wanna go through our due diligence to find the correct artist for the correct mural, and we wanna go through our process of figuring out which mock-ups look best, and that's not gonna be like a point A to point B process. It might be kind of all over the place at first, which we're gonna take on and figure out, hammer out, and get at least several 100% official mock-ups done by the 30th in order to be able to present, but we just don't know how many we will be
So
able
that'd
to.
be cool too, I'm not sure if you thought about it, is, like my old city, Boise, did this, they had this big old long wall. I think once a year, they would paint it, blank, and then they would have a bunch of different artists from all over come in and do something really cool, and they would leave it up for a year, allow it to be enjoyed, and then they would pay over
That's
again.
awesome.
And
That's cool.
so that was something-
That could be something that we do if we, once we eventually reserve the site, something that we have, like, say, an art board, a very large art board that we can put out there and have everyone like paint over it, paint on it throughout the duration of the event. And it can stay at a certain location throughout the year, and then next
The
year,
living mural.
yeah, like one that always evolves.
I think the rodeo, the truck, the elk, the bridge were all nice,
I like the
What would you-
dinosaur.
on the-
I think kids
on the
would really like
AG
the dinosaur.
The
on the
dinosaur one,
AG building, would you consider doing the rodeo there since you got a turn there to go to the rodeo ground?
no, and the reason, because,
Let me get on the dinosaur.
So
well, we've already got approval from the building owner for the rodeo scene to be on the side of the Rice Brothers building.
and he's very excited, he's very excited
yeah.
about it.
The reason,
Truck with the bridge on the.
I understand,
Bridge.
and I think that
Similar
we
to
can
that,
have
similar to that.
to the point that they're trying to make, and I'm be careful what I'm gonna say. But I understand the point that they're trying to make is, if we're gonna make this a destination, I think that's a decision that we have to make as council too, is if we're gonna make this a place where people are excited to come and be a destination, like they're trying to present to us, is what I'm trying to say. That we would have to have something outside the box a little bit for, you know, things like murals and types, stuff like that. And yeah, will they be extreme? Like, I think it's where we have to, you know, where are we gonna draw that line of like how extreme we would want them to allow it to be? But if we're gonna create that excitement for people to come in here, we would have to allow maybe some kind of unique experiences for people to come and actually.
There has-
And so, are we, as a council, as a community, we want to do that? I think that's where the decision has to be made.
We have to be aware of all demographics.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
all demographics, it's not, you know, unfortunately, Ms. McElmurray, removed from this, we're all pretty aged up here, so we're all. Anyways, we're more, probably look at things from a historic perspective.
And we wanna keep it
More than say, Jamie, who might have a more of a outside the box look at things, but we have to be cognizant of all the demographics that play into this. If you want it to be a destination, component for your city, we have to be aware of all of it.
Right,
I'm not opposed to
I don't
any of them.
think people wanna come to town and just look at the trees and all the murals that everybody else
Yeah.
already has.
I look at that and I say, Sonic the Hedgehog, I played it once or twice in my life, so, okay. You know, it doesn't speak to me, but I know that there's 100 million others out there that it's gonna speak to, you know.
well, if I may use the T-Rex as actually an example of something. It's not just because it's on the back of the Regal Raptor. I'm not doing this for personal gain and interest. It's just the idea that I thought would fit best there. And something we came up with on kind of a whim, like, oh, wow, that would be cool. And the reason that we're deciding on that, you know, is the same reason we're deciding on every one of these murals. To invoke awe and imagination in the youth, to become interested in pursuing a goal in art, or at least in pursuing what imagination sparks in every child. So think of when you go to a natural history museum for the first time as a kid and you see that giant Tyrannosaurus skeleton, that gets your mind moving, thinking about, wow, what were these things like? So if you had something that people could see on a daily basis on the back of the AMG market, wow, what is that? I want to see what that is. I want to get closer to it. I want to see what it would have been like to stand right next to a 25-foot tall, 40-foot long dinosaur and take my picture there. Well, it's going to invoke, and then tag Myrtle Creek. It's going to invoke a lot more than imagination. I
You
would say
can make
that.
it 3D so you can look like you're.
The idea is with that QR code, I'm sorry, I kind of briefly skimmed over as much of that as I possibly could to get to all of the murals, but that would create an interactive mural where people could either interact with the dinosaur, be eaten by the dinosaur. That one of the pictures in that actually came and was derived out of an existing mural that is a gigantic, it's kind of like the inspiration for
You
this.
should have put that.
You should have
in
had that on, but
there.
it's okay, it's okay.
I think-
So the idea is that these aren't just murals, they're interactive experiences. And, you know, one thing about the other business we own, the Vault Entertainment Centers, we wanted that to be a staple point for this. We wanted that to be a prime example of how people can have their buildings basically become photo opportunities for people to want to come to Myrtle Creek to take their picture in that scene. And so that's part of it too. It's interactivity, it's history, because once you invoke imagination and the curiosity always leads back to one particular source, which is how and why. And that leads to anthropology, which leads to prehistory and leads to the whole history of man, which if we don't learn from our prior mistakes, we're doomed to repeat them. And so this is basically a call to save imagination and art.
And after they take those pictures, they post them on Facebook and everybody sees them and they all want to come too.
Yeah, and this will be something that AI didn't generate and slap on a wall for us.
So
I
we
think
can
that
sit
would
here,
be-
we can sit here and talk philosophy all night.
Yeah.
Well, I think,
But
I think-
let's
Is that a challenge?
How much money are we talking?
Yeah, some fun.
So the money-
big one, what is your figure on the big one?
So we don't quite yet know. We don't have quotes brought up. We just have a general idea of how much it's gonna cost for on average for each mural. So we don't know yet. What we're asking today for is anything that the committee and the urban renewal program is willing to donate is what we will graciously accept.
You were my next question.
I can tell you right now, Chrissy did some research earlier today and Medford has a mural committee.
Mhm.
And they have a 4-foot by 16-foot mural going up and it's gonna cost at least $10,000.
Really? Just for a 4-foot by 16-foot.
So
you're
so
gonna
then-
to get.
So no 6 to 8 a year, 1 to 2 a year. That's where we're pliable and
But
flexible
this
with
is
how
4
this.
feet by 16 feet. That is tiny compared to what.
Yeah,
We're talking
size building.
So instead of doing, you know,
Starving
8
artists
at
out there,
9,000.
we do it for half that.
this one out here, if I remember correctly, was right around 18,000.
And that was in 1992.
Yes.
Something like that.
I have
No, this one, that Applegate, Susan Applegate did was, 15 or 16, right in that
That hasn't
range.
been there that much.
Oh, okay.
Now, I do want to point out, one of the, yeah, actually, this one actually done by Susan Applegate, that's one of the reasons we want to keep the date of the 27th, because that's the date of the Applegate family reunion. So if they're able to see that we're doing something in Myrtle Creek to celebrate the murals and call out specifically during the festival, the mural that's right here on the side of City Hall, that would be almost perfect. I would think that that's a perfect historical tie-in. The other thing is, with the Sonic mural, for instance, I do have an artist who is willing to paint that entire thing for 5,000. I didn't want to like seem more biased in my favor any more than I already had, so I'm just saying that like I do have an artist who's willing to do that one for that much. But of course, he needs the paint, the supplies.
Most artists are starving until they're dead and their stuff is expensive.
So what are you saying, 5,000 for his labor plus material?
It'd be 5,000 for the labor and then the materials would need to be separate. That'd be-
Leslie, do we have, I didn't look, I should have, do we have a line item in urban renewal for the mural committee?
I couldn't find it.
You
No,
couldn't
because
find it?
it was,
I know it was created
developed-
last
developed
year,
this-
the year, yeah.
it was this fiscal year, and there was nothing on.
Was this fiscal year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
It's way for me.
I'm working on the urban renewal budget right now, so I would have to have a number to be able to put in there for us to even be able to spend this money. And that's next fiscal year, so that's after July 1st. With that money.
Well, so the mural committee itself, although it is a committee within, City Hall, it does not need approval to put these murals up. It needs ownership approval, and if we have the funds, we're here today to request funds. And to give you guys a kind of an idea of the timeline that we are proposing for this to all happen. But technically, it does not need approval to have the murals go up as long as it had funding.
What if, you started out slower or smaller, like, some of the electrical, boxes, you know?
I mean, my immediate thought is that knowing a little bit more of the cost about it, thank you. Is that we would start with maybe a medium, a large and a small. Kind of, kind of see how that,
What do you consider an electrical box?
the DOT boxes that are ones on the corner of First and Main. They're about, yeah. But also, like, if we're involving the community, there's a lot of people that would do these murals for a lot less than the average cost of a
That's
mural
what
in
I'm saying.
Medford. So like, for instance, I have a muralist who's willing to do that very large one for 5,000. So it's just who you get is kind of what it all depends on.
Right, and what the budget is, what you're looking at. So did they have a budget down there in, was it Medford you said?
Oh, I haven't looked at the budget, we just took stuff off of
The
their site.
RFP.
Yeah,
Off
on
the
their
city's
site.
website. Okay.
I guess it's hard for us to say, we'll give you this much money
Yeah,
without
no,
quotes to even know how much it will
absolutely.
cost. So without having quotes from artists and the company, it's hard for us to say how much we can give you.
Yeah.
I really
So-
appreciate your enthusiasm and your vision and the work that you've done contacting the building owners and everything so far.
The last one that was done was the one here, the covered bridge this summer.
At the,
How much did that one cost?
She did that.
That was free.
Oh, okay.
I just-
See, there's a lot of artists.
I was under the impression that the owners of Homestead Furniture
They help,
sponsored it and paid for it.
they help
You don't know
sponsor a
what-
portion.
But I
It
don't
was
know.
a
I haven't been able to
nationwide
talk to them.
program, I believe, with a picture painted in each state, and
Yes.
the artist was doing it
Right.
on her own.
Yeah,
But I
But
also,
they
Helped
contracted
attract
her
her.
and reached out to her to choose this.
they
spot.
may have paid some of her expenses as
right,
far
but
as.
then me and Jonathan were at the music park that when Rhonda was done and they passed the hat.
Yeah, they passed it
At the
out.
music park, so I was just trying to get a figure of how much would that cost for an artist to come in and do something that size?
Look like the T-Rex.
Very.
No, the one that we just had done,
Yeah.
the recent one.
I'd say it's very,
I'd say in that
So-
neighborhood of 10 to 15.
Chrissy.
Really?
I just would hope that if we're gonna be talking about putting painting restrictions on buildings downtown with urban renewal funds, we're gonna stay consistent with what you guys are wanting to paint on those historical buildings as well. Not saying that somebody can't do something on their own building, but you guys are wanting to keep continuity and talk about the history of Myrtle Creek. The log trucks were great, like even if it wasn't a Christmas, just log truck in general, or the bridge, because I think that was originally what was talked about when this whole committee was first formed, was trying to keep with that theme downtown. So I would hope that if you're gonna be giving funds to that, but not, I mean, it needs to be consistent, is what my suggestion would be.
That's why I like continuing the theme of the one that was just done, the bunker, and this one.
Yes, they're all consistent with
And
the
they're not-
history and they're not
Right?
obnoxious.
I think that, yeah, I think you're making the point, that's a decision that we have to make.
Yeah,
They're coming to us with
Right.
another idea of, hey, but those things probably won't draw people to Berkeley, maybe they would, I don't know, but, so that's the idea.
they'd be pretty, but I don't think that they'd draw like I'm saying, you know, if you had something that kids remembered that wanted to stop and see, it's hard to ignore the kid back there saying, we gotta stop and see the dinosaur or that.
Yeah, I think it's.
Martian.
But without any restrictions in place, then they have, as a private business owner, they have the right to put in their building.
Private business owner to
I think he's.
vary
You're simply asking for
He
funding.
said a couple of times, he's doing it without, with or without us.
And that's fine, but if we're putting restrictions on what paint
Right,
colors are
right,
consistent,
right.
we need to be consistent with what.
They can paint on their.
Yeah,
own.
they can go to paint for whatever they want on their own buildings.
Yeah.
It's a matter of funds.
Well, I think, yeah, if we were going to support this, we would probably have to be pretty particular about which mural we're supporting.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be fine, and that's okay too.
Well, and then you guys have the mural committee that's separate from the city, isn't it?
Yes.
And you could raise your funds.
We are.
Yourself.
We are going to, yes. That's why we wanted to request permission for the Facebook access for that mural committee Facebook page to be created within the city's page so that we can call in artists and call in
So the
funding.
city's Facebook page, we don't allow comments for the fact of archiving and record keeping. So I think for your public engagement, that wouldn't.
So could we create our own Facebook page, or is that not allowed through the city? Would we have to like,
Is this a city, is the, I guess, structure wise, is the mural committee a city committee?
So not by order, but it was created by
By the Urban Renewal Committee.
board requesting a mural committee be created in order to come up with murals.
So if they separated,
Well, it was brought up in the June 17th meeting, and they were supposed to, the prior administrator was supposed to just get some input and get the ball rolling and come back to us. Here it is, and then of course, he's no longer with us, he resigned, so here it is February, and that, it's just now getting back to us, so this was supposed to be brought to us in August.
So then that
And then we
committee
would have
should
time.
be either, should be established on its own merit. Or it would be an advisory committee to the city, which we would have control over. But if they establish on their own merit, we don't have any control over it. So
That's
that's,
what they want us to advertise on the Myrtle Creek City.
And she just said it's not.
So we would, then, would we have to officially like disband it from what we got? Put in?
it's never been put into, that's
That's
never been put into
It was
place.
supposed to be brought to us in August to see
Yeah.
what we wanted to do with it.
I thought it had been created. I mean, I was.
So is there a way that they could be on the Myrtle Creek City website?
I can post things on the website to advertise for functions and things like that, but they were asking to have a Facebook page through ours, which we don't do comments on the city Facebook page in order to protect ourselves, because you're not allowed to delete comments as a municipality. And so for us, and we're actually having to budget to have a company archive our Facebook account. So for public engagement,
But can they just?
I-
But it can be a way, a means
But
to advertise,
that's, I
right?
think what you need to decide, if you're gonna have them be any kind of umbrella under the city. Or if you're gonna let them, like Bob was saying, be on their own merit, a Myrtle Creek mural committee that wants to get together and do stuff, that's their own entity.
I guess it depends on how you plan on banking and maintaining other funds. If you're looking for donations and grants, you'll want to be under something that's a 501c3. If you are not, you are just looking for small donations, being on your own, that's one thing, but maybe being under like the Main Street Association would be a better fit if you're looking for a tax ID than being under the city.
So,
The city can, that does get a tax, they can donate to the city and get a tax write-off from that.
But if they need to be separate from the city to have their own Facebook entity,
I mean, we could just create our own Facebook as the mural committee,
Right.
could we? Is that
Right.
possible? Can we just create our own mural committee?
I think the idea is,
As long as it's not associated with the city.
yeah, that's the point, is it can't be
Okay.
associated with the city. Otherwise, you would have to, we have to start, it's public and.
so what would the stipulations be? Like, would we not be able to say like, hey, this is a mural that we're doing in Myrtle Creek, like how?
Yeah, you can do it.
Oh, you can do that,
But
but,
you do whatever
We're
you want.
seeking donations for,
and governance, and governance. I
When
mean, if you're on
donations
your
have
own,
to fall underneath, when the donations have to go to the city,
not if they're on their own.
yeah, if they're on their own.
They're on their own, they're on their own, and that they give you their own governance. But if they are an advisory committee to the city, then it would go before us, before they could do anything. And any donations would have to come to the city.
So technically, the mural committee currently
It's,
is on its own.
Yeah.
And it
And
needs to be
it's-
decided whether it's going to be on its own
So
or be a
it's,
part of the city.
yeah, it's, and I would suggest that you guys, as a committee, figure out if that's what you want to do.
I think we want to be on our own, like as far as, I can't speak on everybody from the committee, but on their behalf, but it was originally decided that we would be on our own to be able to have a little bit more creative
So then,
flexibility.
and all you're really doing then is asking the urban renewal agency for a donation to.
Correct.
To the mural.
Yes, this whole
committee.
presentation was kind of just a means to show you, to keep you in the loop, and this is what we plan to do, and this is what we plan to achieve, and we're gonna learn a lot throughout the process, but that we hope to seek funds and permissions to use some, or to create some sort of Facebook page for this, to open call to artists as soon as possible.
But I guess we can
But
just
the only-
do
the
that.
only-
And if we can just do that on our own, then I guess we
With that,
don't
the
need.
only approval it would, that you would need from us would be if you're going to put any mural on any sort of a public building.
Correct.
Visitor center,
Yes,
the electrical boxes in Millside Park,
yes.
those type of things.
Actually, so she's not here anymore, no longer, but Chandra had, found that some of those electrical boxes are, the DOT, and that,
The one on First Street, because it's.
yeah,
For the street lights.
And they said
they said to
could,
proceed. I suppose.
And the one on the back of St. Vincent de Paul, I think we finally got rid of that one, didn't we? They used to have paper pieces in it.
I think,
well,
I think we would, I mean, I think, donating, I mean, yeah, once you get some more costs and stuff, that would probably, like, especially if it was the one that we would like on one of our public buildings. We would probably definitely want to help support that. So
And the only one, what they brought forward so far, the only thing that I can do now. is that I would be in favor of is donating money to upgrade and restore the mural on the bunker at Millside. Because that is a very intricate thing there, and it needs to be preserved.
Yeah.
Those murals are very intricate.
so we do hope to do that. It's a little over our heads currently, and we don't want to end up picking an artist who destroys it instead
Yeah,
of restoring
that's
it.
a very,
That is,
um,
yeah,
Would
it's
that
a
be
little
something
con, but we
urban
would
renewal
love
would
to
be
do
willing
that.
to pay for?
Well, that's up to this board. I mean.
I'd be very
I think
concerned
once
about.
again, if you were to find an artist that could do it.
Or trying to fix that mural.
Yeah,
we wouldn't be able to do that within this time frame.
well, that's fine,
For
yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But in the next
I-
couple
I
of years.
would
yeah, yeah, I think so.
I would object to anybody even trying to fix that mural. I would be interested in seeing if there's some sort of paint, clear paint that could
Like a
protect.
sealant
The
to just keep it
bunker
the way
isn't
it
even
is.
in the urban renewal district, so it's not even on the drawing.
Oh,
board.
okay.
Thank you.
It's not?
Never mind.
The whole park is not.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Okay.
Good to know.
I would still like to help and assist with these stories one way or another.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's one of the.
That's okay. That's what this is all about, though, is fundraising for things that fall out of the city's grasp in order to be able to make the whole town beautiful, not just within urban renewal, but like the mural committee itself is communicating with the Main Street Association, with the Chamber of Commerce, with you all here today to try to make this place a destination for young families to come to, not just to be tourists at, but to live here.
Like I said before, the Main Street buildings or where the mill site is, the St. Vincent and all that, down that, those three buildings. I would rather a mural go up there that's really beautiful than to come back in 6 more years and still see that those buildings have not been painted. So that's where I stand like that.
Yeah, the idea for that is to, and that's why I said, you know, we have this ambitious goal of 6 to 8 per year is because we don't want any of that whites, you know, backside there. We want that whole thing to be different murals and a different variety to complement whatever the festival, Summerfest, people just in the park themselves seeing, what's that? And go and seek interest in it and gain more interest in Myrtle Creek itself. The whole purpose of the mural committee, which was derived actually out of Imagine Myrtle Creek, is to revitalize the town. Same thing in line with the urban renewal program.
I'm gonna start wrapping this up.
Yep.
Yeah, but to bring attention to Myrtle Creek for more than our past, but the things that we've done currently, like with
Currently.
the moon tree. and-
Yes.
Which
Yes.
will,
Those
which
are
will
great
soon
things, I
be
think.
Myrtle Creek history.
Yeah.
And just as a point, before, the way I feel about it, is before we can donate to it, we would have to see some sort of, structure from that organization, sort of, bylaws, you know, with a structure in place, you know, something that, some guidelines showing.
Yeah. And I
So we're
apologize.
not just, giving,
Yeah, yeah.
$5,000-$10,000 to the wind, so.
Yeah, and I apologize, I'm actually filling in for the president of the mural committee that couldn't be here tonight. And he has a lot more of that information than I do when it comes to the bylaws and the different
What's his name?
intricacies.
Shane.
Shane Kelly.
Kelly.
And if anybody has any suggestions as to what could go on the visitor center, that was just one
that was
idea that we
an
just
example.
threw up there, and if you guys have anything,
Did you
you're
just paint it?
welcome to it.
Visitor center.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
would,
just-
I would
Yeah,
like
but
to
that
see-
doesn't look like.
That's what-
Well, now it's got a perfectly blank slate.
Covered bridge.
What about instead of the brown, have the white, covered bridge there, but you'd have to have background, you know, like the trees to set it off.
Just the trees.
Even just the
Yeah.
trees, yeah. The trees look good.
Yeah.
Take a picture of the welcome sign in Myrtle Creek where nature is your neighbor, put it there with
Yeah.
visitor center.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
You know, the pavilion and the trees on one side, the sign right there on that side. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that-
anyways,
There
thank
you
you guys so much.
Guys,
Thank you.
sorry to take so long.
Alright.